So we are back with another episode of The Exhibit. To start this season, the 2025 new year is upon us with the Eagles and Cowboys coming up on Thursday. You know, there's a full slate of games, including the Giants, who today made some news. I'm Josina Anderson, your host, but we are bringing in your boy, Clarence Hill from All City DLLS, and of course, Pat Leonard from the New York Daily News. What's going on, boys? How you doing?
Well, man, getting ready for the season. It starts Thursday, Dallas, Philadelphia. All eyes are on the Eagles in their banner ceremony.
Mm-hmm. And of course, Pat, go ahead.
Yeah, no, Justina, thanks for having me on. A lot of excitement here in New York. A lot of excitement, some youth in the building. We don't know if it's going to translate into results, though. That's what we're waiting to see.
We had a very interesting headline today in New York. Jaxson Dart, the rookie out of Ole Miss, named QB2. But Pat, you said this is what you expected because he's always been QB2. But the thing is, the question is that fair? Did Jameis Winston get a fair shot? Clarence,
no.
Go ahead, Pat. Mm-hmm.
No, not at all. I thought from the jump, it interested me how they were splitting the reps. And from the jump of training camp, you saw in the spring, obviously, Dart acclimating. Really, when they split the four quarterbacks up, Dart was over with DeVito on one side while Winston was over with Russell Wilson, the two veterans together. But the second we got into the summer, it was Dart, in the hip pocket of Russell Wilson. And Jameis's reps never reflected that he had any chance of competing really for much of anything in this quarterback room. What I found interesting, Josina, was I was trying to get my head around why Winston was accepting the role that he has found himself in. I think when you zoom out, what the Giants did was they signed the two quarterbacks in free agency in Wilson and Winston, not knowing what was going to happen in the draft. They had hopes of what they were going to do, players they were going to go get. There were obviously multiple players under consideration, but then once they were able to land a quarterback in Jaxson Dart, it really seems that Winston has taken a back seat, and not only to the competition for the starting job, but all the while, this has been getting Russell ready to run the offense as a starter in week one, while simultaneously ramping Jaxson Dart up to this number two role. I would honestly say, Justina and Clarence, that Jaxson Dart is more quarterback 1B on this roster than he's quarterback 2 based on their usage. So I think the sum total of it, Josina, I don't think the Giants honestly trust Jameis Winston as a player because they haven't shown trust in him on the field.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack there. I know, Clarence, you want to get in, but Clarence and I were having a conversation behind the scenes before we even did this, and we were talking about, the merits of having an actual competition. My thing is, and I don't care if it's not happening in the NFL, if it's not realistic in the NFL, if it's not the history of the NFL. My idea of what it should be is it should be a competition and not a process of confirmation bias.
Right.
What is the point if all you're doing is just trying to reinforce that you're right or reinforce a decision if you're not really trying to extract the reality of what is the outcome of the process? And then secondly, my thing is that even fair to Jameis? Is that even fair to Jameis? I mean, I can think of examples where, of course, the rookie shows this and the rookie shows that, and I'm not gonna say what team, and this is a completely different position, but I do remember in one of the conference championship games two years ago, they weren't going to the veteran, and then they went to the rookie in the conference championship game, and it was down and gotta have it, and he dropped the ball. And so I understand how things flash when it's not for real, but at some point, the experience shows, and I'm very disappointed. I'm very disappointed that even going back, what was it, the combine or the owners meetings or whatever, that we felt like, I think when we were in Florida, that they were saying, Russell Wilson is this, and even we were saying then, Pat, I was like, where's the competition? Why not wait? Why are you going ahead and naming it? Clarence, go. As I already know. Go ahead.
I mean, first of all, it's performative. All the competition. I mean, yes, they have an idea what they want and what they want to do and how they want the quarterback. To me, it's poor roster management. Why is Jameis Winston still on the roster? Go get something for him. There's so many teams that need backup quarterbacks. Go get something. Trading for a seventh, trading for a sixth. Go get something for him. Once you decided that Dart is going to be your backup, Russell's going to be a starter. I understand the process you want. You don't want to rush Dart on the field. You got a veteran. You want him to learn. You're going to give him. You're going to slow play, let him cook. That makes sense because it's about the future. Okay. Number two, you ain't got to worry about them going to the rookie and conference championship game. They're not going to the conference championship game. Okay.
Okay,
Let's play.
but
Let
then
me
why
finish.
not?
Let me finish.
Go ahead.
Second of all, it's about progress stopper. Winston is a progress stopper. You don't want a veteran who you know what he is. You know what he is in this league. He's had ample opportunity to be a star. He's not your future. He's not your starter. You want to develop a young guy. You've invested in him for the future. So you do give him the reps. Winston doesn't need the reps. He's not even going to be your, when you go to Dart, it's Russell Wilson's going to be your backup. Russell Wilson's your starter. Dart's your backup. Winston would be a progress stopper.
Okay, so
That's
it's
what
been
they call
Russell
those
Wilson,
people.
Jaxson Dart, Tommy DeVito. Then are you wasting Jameis Winston's time? Let him. Then why not? Not only did you not give him the reps to have a fair competition, now you're also adding salt to the injury by inhibiting him.
You're not
So let him go somewhere else. Let him go back to New Orleans.
He can ask for release. People do it all the time. Veterans do it all the time. Ask for your release in the free agent market
all the time. Hold on, Pat, jump in there.
No, yeah, Clarence makes good points. I do agree that, I think the most impressive thing about Jameis, like I said early on a little bit, I'm stunned at how he's accepted not playing much football. To his credit, he's had a positive impact on the team and the quarterback room. Like I was interviewing Matt Sims the other day, and he was making the point that if Jameis wasn't in there as kind of the guy softening it, lightening the mood, and accepting his role and where he stands, this might not be going as smoothly right now for Russell Wilson with Jaxson Dart, because Dart's breathing down Wilson's neck, but Wilson can't talk because here's Jameis on a 2-year contract being relegated to Tommy DeVito level snaps, and he's accepting it with a smile on his face. So
but there's also a wide gap in between what the Giants are paying Jameis and what the Giants are paying Russell. And that's a whole nother conversation as to whether that even needed to be done. Go ahead.
I think it's interesting how Jameis remade his image from what he was, and to be this backup quarterback, accept this role, glue guy. I don't think people saw that from Jameis. You go back to, we remember Jameis in Florida State and the crab legs and everything that goes with Jameis.
He was always gracious, though. No, he was always gracious.
No, I agree, but the public didn't see that. You saw that. And so I think now we're getting a different appreciation of Jameis the person, Jameis the man, a religious man. We think he's crazy because he does, but he's sincere, and that's who he is. And I like it. Jameis is about the long game. Jameis wants to be in this league. He doesn't want to be a guy that rocks the boat. He doesn't have a problem being a long-term backup quarterback and live out his career as a backup quarterback with the Giants or someone else. A lot of quarterbacks who've made a good living being a backup quarterback, being a glue guy, being a guy that don't make waves.
I'm not saying that Jameis should, but that's not the scope of the conversation. I'm not saying that Jameis should rock the boat. The question is whether the Giants are doing right by a proper competition and what does it actually benefit them to predetermine the situation. Had the situation been more equitable and I'm going off of Pat. Pat was there more in terms of looking at practice and going off what you're saying, Pat. You're telling me that Jameis looks like he had more reps and more of an opportunity, and that obviously head coach in particular, Brian Daboll, is invested in Jaxson Dart, succeeding. And I'm not saying that there, is anything like untoward, like that's different from anybody else. All I'm saying is that if you actually let something play out judiciously and you're fair about it, having the actual results play out the way that they should, to me, it not only comes out and benefits you because you get the accuracy of the outcome, but it's also the right thing. And just because Jameis is seeming to take it and Jameis is seeming okay and he's gracious and he eats the W's or whatever, doesn't mean that doesn't mean that that's right.
Yeah,
it doesn't make it right.
I think from a football standpoint, Justine and Clarence, one of the main reasons, in addition to it being as I agree with you, it's the right thing to have a competition, meritocracy, cream rises to the top. But the Giants' main problem on offense is generating explosive plays, and that's what Jameis Winston does best. So that was one key football reason why I didn't quite follow their decision to not entertain him as an option more. I know that the Giants, one thing they tried to do, and one part of the reason they handed the job to Russell Wilson is, in addition to, I think, Russell Wilson wanting it that way, even though it's not like he had a ton of options out there, but I think they wanted a North Star. Like, they wanted to give the team early somebody to get behind and say, this is the person we are following. Now, I'm not saying that that's the right course of action at all, as I've said.
And you still could have done that, Pat, like 3 or 4 weeks into the offseason conditioning program, right? Like, let's say even if you could have, even if it was predetermined, why are you making it look predetermined? That's the thing I don't understand. The offseason conditioning program is 11 weeks or 12 weeks or whatever it is, depending on whether you have a new coach or an old coach. You could have waited 4 or 5 weeks to do that. Predetermining it is what creates, when you're talking about all this emotion and all the engagement and all this rah-rah that's around what's going on with the Giants, what's going on with the Browns, whatever. These are the things that add, to that sensitivity, because people are not only sensitive in terms of the players to that, I believe, but I also think that people who watch the sport also observe this as well. Clarence, what's the problem?
I just think that sounds good, meritocracy competition, but that's not reality. And it's not. They don't have the time. They don't have the snaps in the offseason. They don't really go full speed. They don't tackle. It is really hard to give, when you got 3 quarterbacks, to give everybody equal reps and say, hey, we'll give everybody equal amount of snaps. That's just not how it works.
But I'm not talking about equal amount of snaps. I understand that everyone's not going to get the amount of snaps, Pat and Clarence. What I am talking about are more equitable, closer to, more equitable snaps, but also more equitable conditions to evaluate, who's really where. That's what I'm talking about. And we can even have that conversation relative to Shedeur and relative to Jaxson Dart and how the Browns are choosing to handle this situation versus, and here's the thing, because, Giants fans always talk about, I don't say nothing positive. I don't have nothing positive to say. Here's what I do think is positive about Brian Daboll. I think that I like the way you can tell that he's very smart and intellectual about the conditions that he is setting up for Jaxson Dart so that he does succeed, the way that he calls the games, the types of plays, so that he has those high completion rates. And I'm not saying that Jaxson, because he's had some, long balls as well, because I was going to even say to you, Pat, when you said that Jameis is, comes across more explosive, for the long balls that I have seen, because I haven't seen everything of Jaxson, but I've seen him, complete some long ones in the preseason. So I feel like he can. So I want to give Brian Daboll his props there, but that's my point, is you see the difference when it feels like, at least, what it feels like when the coach is super invested, into the player, versus whether that may or may not be the case, at least from the way it's playing out. I'm not saying I'm in Kevin Stefanski's head, but in terms of the way it was playing out, particularly in the third preseason game, and that could all be attributed to Kevin Stefanski being diplomatic, but go ahead.
Yeah. No. And I think, to Clarence's point too about, if you were going to elevate, let's say, Jameis over a Jaxson Dart, you don't want to stop progress. You don't want to stop the rookie from getting on the field. And it certainly isn't about that, because Dart really has done the most with what he's been given, and he's played well. And you know as well as I do that when a first round quarterback plays well and gets more opportunities and gets opportunities with the first team offense and takes advantage of it, then he ends up on the field pretty early. But it is certainly so it's not about Winston versus Dart. Like, this news that Dart is the number 2, that comes out because technically the unofficial depth chart was reversed and Winston was the 2 in the preseason.
I just think
it's really so less about Dart versus Winston. It's more about Winston versus Wilson, and the fact that it never became that.
And
go argue with Josina.
What?
Go argue with Josina.
Listen, regardless whether it's Winston versus Wilson or Winston versus Dart, I just think that it's disrespectful. But let's do this for a second. Yeah. Let's just pretend that we're these 3 quarterbacks, okay? And Pat, let's just pretend that you're Jameis Winston. Mm-hmm. How are you? You tell me how you're feeling coming to work.
Yeah, no, I would feel like it was time to be somewhere else that was going to give me a chance to play football. I mean, that's how I felt all through camp. I've been waiting for him to say something of the kind or indicate something of the kind. He's been diplomatic about it. I think, Josina, correct me if I'm wrong. This is a hypothesis. I think at this point, he's embracing it because he's figuring, listen, I'm amazing at this media thing, social media, amazing personality. Now he's in New York. How long is he going to be here? He's going to take full advantage of the stage. He's going to contribute what he can to a locker room that desperately
None of
needs
us should
any
take, all
semblance
of
of
us should be
leadership.
on our Oprah and our Martha Stewart. We should all be trying to have it all. We should all be trying to have as much as is due to us as possible. And just because he's looking at his stock options and his media opportunities and all these other things that he can and flourish in after the fact that we're even talking about that still shows how much we're deviating from the point.
That's just my hypothesis of
Yeah.
like why he's accepting it, because I can't figure it out otherwise. You know,
Well, hold on, Clarence. I'll say this. I feel like I can answer that question. I remember when the Browns, where he was on the verge of signing with the Browns, and we were talking about whether that was, and this is me and Jameis, we were talking on the phone, and I was saying, you sure you want to go there based off of the circumstance, and you're really going to have an opportunity to compete again. And mind you, he was coming off the situation with the Saints where he's 5-2 with Sean Payton, had his lowest interception rate of his career before the ACL injury, and really had cleaned up a lot of things coming off of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that year. He had the 30-33 or whatever it is with the touchdowns versus the interceptions. And so I'm saying to him, is this the best thing? And he, cut me off then. And I think I actually wrote a post about it on Twitter that went viral at the time. And he was saying that, first and foremost, he feels called to do, the work of the Lord in terms of whether that means showing up as a leader, as a mentor. So he was saying it back then. And I feel like, obviously he has the same mentality that he's bringing to the Giants. My point is that regardless of him having this mentality, regardless of his religion, it's just not right. It's not fair.
I've said long ago, the NFL is a dirty game. It's a dirty game how they treat players. It's a dirty game how players have no control, rarely have control over their careers, how their careers end. Let's be honest, Jameis should be the starting quarterback in New Orleans. He embraced that city, that the city loves him. They have no quarterback. He should be the starting quarterback in New Orleans, okay?
And I even said Lions fans that I felt like the Saints was the best.
If things were fair, if things were fair, he would be the starting quarterback in New Orleans because he's perfect for that city. Mm-hmm. But Jameis understands. I think this is an opportunity where, again, when I talk about, because I talk to players all the time, former players, you don't really get to control how you leave this game and how you get ready for the next phase of your career. And I think Jameis, as a businessman, certainly Lord, he's a religious man. He's taken all that into account and how he approaches things, how he handles things. Certainly being in New York, he killed it at the Super Bowl doing TV. He has a next career in TV. He's going to kill it in New York. I mean, I know what you're talking about, the fair on the field, but it's more than that. It's way more than that for Jameis. Mm-hmm. And again, for the Giants standpoint, their commitment is to Dart, okay? And they signed Russell first to be the bridge. Mm-hmm. Jameis went there after Russell. They signed Russell to be the bridge. Jameis is cool with it. You got to be cool with it.
Is he though? Is he cool with it?
Apparently.
You tell me.
Well, here's the other thing that I want to say, because I feel like, Jameis is like, what's the word I'm looking for? He's very gregarious. He's very extroverted, outgoing, and he's gonna be very effervescent with his personality or whatever. And I feel like it's sometimes I don't know how that comes across to the C-suite of all of these teams, right? And whether they feel like whatever that personality is that he all embodies is what they want representing at QB1. And I'm speaking, and if that is the case, obviously speaking against that, because there are quarterbacks who have had a variety of different personalities that these teams feel fine with in terms of being I guess I'm saying is I don't feel like he should be knocked for not always being three-piece suit buttoned up with his personality, so to speak. That should not be a knock when you think about some of the current quarterbacks or quarterbacks in the past that have been allowed to have a wide spectrum of personality when it comes to who is the face, of the organization. But I would be remiss to I want to say something really quick before, because obviously we got to talk really quickly about the Cowboys and the Eagles. But I do want to say, Giants fans, number one, I do see the potential that Jaxson Dart has. So we're not ignoring the potential. I do want to say I would still like to see him have a multiple passing touchdown game, yet which he has not done in the preseason compared to Shedeur Sanders. However, yes, I did have to say that, but that doesn't mean I don't think he can do it. Actually, I am quite pleased in terms of the confidence that I see. Obviously, I also see that his personality rubs off on, some of the players or what have you. That being said, these are a lot of the same things that I see in Jaxson are also the same things that I, see in Shedeur. So that's that conversation. Anybody else have, anything that you just want to add to that conversation relative to the reality that is not something that we should shy away from, that there will be a comparison, and that is okay. And that doesn't make anybody racist. That doesn't make anybody, this or that. It means that we're having a conversation, and adults should be able to have a healthy conversation that includes complimenting and critiquing. Okay.
Yeah. The point about Shedeur versus Dart that is grounded in reality, it is not opinion, is from a New York standpoint. There are people, decision-making level people in the New York Giants building who wanted Shedeur Sanders, who preferred Shedeur Sanders, some of whom changed their minds, some of whom did not, right? It ended up in them deciding ultimately, once Dable got heavily involved, in going with Jaxson Dart. But it's a story because they were so heavily invested in not only scouting and learning about Shedeur Sanders, but in a lot of corners of their building wanting Shedeur Sanders until they decided, wait, we want Jaxson Dart instead. So it is very much, even going back to the early preseason, like you said, when Shedeur Sanders has that strong debut and then Jaxson Dart answers it, it is a story week in and week out, season in and season out now, because they are, specifically from a Giants standpoint, especially, tied at the hip as far as how the process went, what the result was, and now we're going to get to evaluate who was right and who was wrong.
And I just want to say this real quick, and obviously I want you to jump in, and then we're going to transition to your team here, Clarence. But I just wanted to say this, based off, the comment that I was making about Shedeur Sanders after the third preseason game, relative to me being disappointed that he didn't get an opportunity to run the 2-minute drill at the end of the game, and also feeling like he needed a more equitable opportunity to show what it is that he can do. And then people coming back at me and saying, well, who do you think you are? Kevin Stefanski's 2-time coach of the year. This is not about questioning if Kevin Stefanski knows offense and can call plays and downshifting on the accomplishments that he has, that he's garnered in, after the season relative to being the coach of the year 2 times a year. What my conversation about Kevin Stefanski is I feel like he has to do, in my opinion, do a better job of recognizing dynamics of personality and players and who you have on the bench and who you have in the game. And every player needs something different. What's my guy who used to coach the Bills? Phil, what's his name?
Joe Philbin?
No, Phil.
Phil.
What's the name they used to call the Chicago Bulls? What's his name? Phil Jackson. Yes. So when you've got Scottie Pippen, when you've got Michael Jordan, when you've got Dennis Rodman, when you've got all these players or what have you, my man Hodges and all these people that played on that team, all of those players need different things and require a different set of understanding relative to their personality, how they carry themselves. And we know that Shedeur feeds off of bravado and confidence and things like that. So you have to ask yourself, what are the things that you are doing to edify not only your player in terms of understanding the game plan and executing, but making sure that they're at their maximum selves with their confidence and their psychology when they're going out there. And regardless of his pedigree and legacy and all these other things, you know, he is still, I'm talking about Shedeur, still a 20-something-year-old player and a 20-something-year-old young male adult. And those things began to eat at you. And I would challenge Kevin to go back and look at that game and think, you know, did we need to see, did Joe Flacco need, at going into his 19th season, need those reps? Of course you want to have the rehearsal, but, or was it more valuable to be able to, you know, critique and evaluate QB2 and QB3? Go, Clarence.
The only thing I push back on is that I just don't think it's a legitimate comparison in how the Giants are treating Dart and how the Browns are treating Shedeur. The Giants are clearly invested in Dart. They clearly made a first-round pick investment in Dart. It behooves them to do everything they can to
Just
create
be invested in all your players.
You're not letting me finish.
Go ahead.
It behooves them to do everything they can to put him in the right situations. The difference with Shedeur is I don't think Stefanski invested in Shedeur. They actually drafted another quarterback in front. It's not okay. It's just the reality of the situation. Okay? They drafted Gabriel in front of him. Okay? It's the reality of the situation. He was a 5th-round pick. You're not going to give the 5th-round pick the same amount of chances as you give a 1st-round pick. That's the reality of the NFL. 1st-round picks get chances after chances after chances after chances. I guarantee you, if Jameis Winston wasn't a former 1st-round pick, he wouldn't still be in the league right now. Even to do his thing as a backup.
The same amount of reps, or are we talking about giving?
I'm just talking about opportunities. I'm talking about investment. I'm talking about you're making comparisons to how one organization is investing in development of a player compared to another organization, and it has everything to do with their investment in the player, how much they want the player. That's all I'm saying. And the other thing I push back on the Giants is it seemed like it came out of the Giants, and correct me if I'm wrong, in the draft where he was painted as somebody wasn't prepared and not ready and not being a hard worker, and that's not true. That's never been true. I've known Shedeur since he was a kid playing in Dion's youth leagues. I know how Dion is, how hard he is on those kids. You can say what you want about the attention, the cameras, and everything else in Dion, but to pay him as a guy that's not prepared, doesn't work hard, that's the furthest from the
you
truth.
can I mean, I don't know, and if you know, hey, if you want to talk about this now, I can edit it out. But no, seriously. But talk about that, because obviously that was an example that came out during the Giants process. You know, so is there a situation where did he come across prepared, not prepared?
The initial report, which was, you know, verified, was that Daboll had an interaction with Shedeur. I believe, was it Todd McShay, I believe, was the first person to report it.
At the whiteboard?
Yes, it was related to, correct me if I'm wrong, this is how I remember the story. It's that Daboll would, at times with quarterbacks, enter mistakes on purpose to see if the quarterbacks would catch them in like installs that they had discussed, and that Shedeur didn't like being tricked like that and might have said something about it. There was another version of it that just Shedeur was not prepared enough. I think, though, hearing those different stories, it was all describing the same situation from different people's mouths. But my takeaway from it, Josine and Clarence, and I'm glad Clarence brought this up, my takeaway from that is, why is a negative leak about a player coming out of the Giants building? Like that to me is the takeaway from that, right? And even if some of it was true, even if it was misunderstood and both parties, you know, said something they shouldn't have said or whatever it is, the crux of that is there's 32 teams in the league, and there was an NFL draft that went on, and there was a whole month-long or several months long process, combine, all these interviews, pro days. And the one leak that comes out just so happens to be about the most controversial player in the draft. And it just so happens to come out of the Giants building. Right. And I think that deserves to be on the record that that's the case. I'm glad you brought that up.
And it colored people's impression. Maybe it colored how other teams viewed him. Maybe it impacted, you know, how far he fell in the draft. I don't know. But again, I know that Shedeur is not an unprepared person, unprepared quarterback. And you can see as we had this conversation about the lack of reps in Cleveland and how he was able to perform in games, he doesn't come across as a guy that's unprepared.
Mm-hmm. No doubt.
Those are the facts.
No doubt. Yeah, I remember even talking to evaluators, even people, remember back at the combine when there were reports about how some of the meetings weren't going well. And when you dug into that and you asked people and you're doing the reporting on, both the football side, the character side, there was not a person walking around saying this kid doesn't work hard. You know what I mean? Like that was not a thing, that he didn't work, that he didn't apply himself, that he wasn't a good practice player. Like you didn't hear that from anybody. So
yeah, I think what I'm saying about, because the whole point, going back to what you were saying, Clarence, is you're saying that the Giants situation with Jaxson Dart is not apples to Shedeur Sanders situation in Cleveland. Right. What I'm saying, it's not about whether it is apples or it's not apples. The point is, what I'm illuminating, and actually to the Giants' credit, is I'm saying that you see the results not only in the way that Jaxson Dart is coming across, the confidence that he's projecting, what have you, when it feels like, again, I'm not in Kevin Stefanski's head, when the coach feels super invested in the player versus what is playing out. And I understand that Shedeur, and I can hear the fans now, I can see them in my comments, I understand that Shedeur was drafted in the 5th round, but he is, in my opinion, not a 5th round player. He is a 5th round circumstance based off of everything that happened and what have you, but he is not a 5th round player. And so my thing is, given that unique distinction, it's even more incumbent upon the coach to be very good, not only with how he is trying to extract the information from the competition, but also making sure that while he is balancing that nuance, that he is carefully cradling the confidence of the players in doing so, so that it doesn't seem that the minute that Shedeur gets out on the field in the 3rd preseason game, and he's like, he can instantly feel like, oh crap, this protection ain't gonna be nowhere near what I had, in week 1 or what have you. And he's got to be better about this. And I said this on Twitter, that it's automatically not coming out of him in terms of just feeling dejected, feeling overwhelmed, feeling defeated by the situation, because it's like, for me, I feel like I was picking up on it just felt like you could tell that he felt like the situation wasn't, fair, it wasn't equal, and it was kind of coming out, not only the way he was skedaddling, or what have you. So again, it's not about X's and O's and just being good at the clipboard and being good at calling the offense or whatever. You have to manage the personalities and what your players need to be at their max. And the reason why that benefits Kevin Stefanski is that, because if God forbid something happens and you got to call on your players, like we were talking about at the top of the show in the conference channel, whatever game it is, this is when you're going to need that confidence. You don't want, ghosts of Carson Wentz and Zach Wilson and the players that have had to deal with ghosts in their head, coming out during the game, because they're going back and forth like a yo-yo with their confidence.
See what you're missing, and I would be remiss, and we're remiss by not even bringing up Dillon Gabriel's name. Dillon Gabriel's the backup. He's also a rookie. He's the guy that invested in. He's the backup. So he's the backup in Cleveland. He's the guy that Stefanski is focusing on developing and giving those reps to, apparently. But he's the backup, and he's a rookie as well. And so we can't just talk about what they're doing for Shedeur and not bring up how they're handling Dillon Gabriel.
I'm not.
But we haven't even brought his name up.
No.
Pat, this is a window. Fair. This is a window. We have these conversations all the time. It's hard to get a word in. I just want to let the record say.
You're so easy to interrupt, Clarence. You're so easy to interrupt.
No, but you bring up a good point. But no, what is it that I'm not allowing you to finish? Go ahead. No, seriously.
No, I'm fine. I'm just saying that we can't. And Pat, you can elaborate. But again, Dillon Gabriel is their Jaxson Dart, not Shedeur Sanders.
Okay, so. Again, let me make it clear. I'm not dismissing Dillon Gabriel. You bring up an excellent point in terms of at least bringing up his name. That is a fair point. I'm not dismissing him. I feel like the way that Kevin Stefanski likes to call the games, and I can see why, Dillon Gabriel is a pick in terms of fixing how he likes to execute the games. Also, the personality, especially the way I feel like Kevin Stefanski personality comes across and how that could feel like a fit. That seems understandable. All I'm saying is that I felt like that Kevin Stefanski should have made it more just the same way as we're talking about with Jameis and Jaxson Dart. I felt like it should have been more equitable conditions to extract the answer relative to who was going to end up being QB2 to QB3, or even if, that should have been Joe Flacco or what have you. And also, beyond having equitable conditions, making sure that you are running the process in a way where you are continuing to amplify and maximize the player's confidence, the same confidence that you're going to need.
Yeah, the reality, as Clarence mentioned too, and bringing up Gabriel, the reality is they preferred, or the GM and coach by their draft selection preferred Gabriel, that quarterback, over Sanders, who the organization eventually takes as well. And so even though these guys have been on the field, been in the building, and you've been able to learn more about them, I think what you're seeing in what you're pointing out about who are they maybe propping up, who are they showing more support for in certain situations, you're just seeing the original order of things play out now on the field. This is where it started back in April, and now this is where it is. But, just seeing at least the Browns and the Giants have a season. The Cowboy season is over. I mean, they traded Parsons. Such
a perfect segue.
Every Giants fan added 2 wins to the Giants schedule because they know they play Dallas twice. The Cowboys don't even have to play those games.
I'm glad you brought it up. I think the Cowboys won 15 of the last 16 against the Giants.
Oh wow, we coming in off the top rope.
No, I was just looking it up because I was doing a game I had to redo my game by game, and I got the Cowboys going 7-10, but I got them splitting with the Giants this season after the Parsons trade. And I was looking at they just own the Giants. I mean, it's like 6-7 straight and 15 of the last 16 games against the Giants.
Yeah, it's like 8 straight, 15 of the last 16. The Giants haven't won in Arlington since Ben McAdoo's first season, 2016. I think that was a week 1 game too. Yeah, no, not the Cowboys own the Giants. Dak Prescott owns the Giants.
Right.
But yeah, that really is the takeaway right now in the tri-state area here in the New York area. I mean, everyone's talking about, well, if they beat the Commanders, definitely beat the Cowboys. We're 2-0 going into week 3 against the Chiefs. So that's where we're at.
Okay, and that's a great segue, Clarence. You are the reporter on deck. You're going to the game. You're flying to Philly. Your team that you cover is going to be a part of the opening game for the NFL in the 2025 season. Cowboys at Eagles. Major headlines going into this game, including Micah Parsons not even being a part of the Dallas Cowboys. First thing, before you even go into the matchup, my question to you is, did Jerry's trade of Micah Parsons to the Green Bay Packers make sense relative to everything that he kept on saying or kept on portraying were his issues leading up into the big surprise, which was he thought he had a deal done. He kept on referring to Micah Parsons' agent as the agent. Like, it seemed like he didn't even want to talk to him. He kept on talking about the leverage that he had. And did he achieve that and win that by sending Micah Parsons off to the Packers?
Well, you don't win by getting rid of your best player, a generational talent. Your defensive end for a damn nose guard. Okay, you don't focus on the run defense. None of that works. Basically, Jerry got mad. He thought he had to deal with Micah. He felt he had to deal with Micah. A owner against player negotiation, which he said with Micah. And Micah said, "Call my agent." Never called the agent, and he wanted Micah to honor the handshake deal that he believes he had with Micah. And he never wanted to negotiate or engage the agent. And he felt Micah basically betrayed him. And once he got mad and felt he was betrayed, he was done. He never entered any legitimate negotiations with Dalen Mulligata or Micah Parsons' agent after March. And I broke that story at the owners' meeting in March, late March, that the Cowboys felt they had a deal with Micah Parsons, and they were happy with that. A record-setting deal in their mind that was going to make him the richest non-quarterback in NFL history. But always the devil's in the details. And according to Michael's agent, David Mulligata, the cash flow, all that stuff was not what Jerry said it was. It was questionable cash flow. And by signing a 4-year deal rather than a 5-year deal with Green Bay and going for 47 million rather than 40.5 million, and then having that fourth year where he could be a free agent after 4 years is worth 60 million or more for Micah Parsons.
Okay, so my question to you is: do you think all of that was performative, though? Because it doesn't. Even if Jerry was so mad and he just couldn't come off the ledge, there are people in the building in the front office to his own son that could all this time to pull him off the ledge. Put sense into him. The Michael Irvins also, even people outside the building. So my question is, especially when you hear the way Jerry was talking, and he was considering this even when he made Brian Schottenheimer the coach, and all these other things. Do you think that his ire, his rage over the situation was actually performative because in some sort of 4D chess way, he knew that was going to piss off Micah. It was going to lead down this road. And it was really a way to get out of it because when he evaluated the money that he was going to have to pay, he really did have some legitimate questions as to whether he wanted to give that to Micah relative to comparing that to maybe some future options down the road.
I think if they would have signed him to a deal, what they've done, and if they had these long negotiations with CD and Dak and Dez and Zach Martin, and he eventually signed him to a deal, then you could say it was performative because that's what they do. He likes to do things and drag things out to keep it on first take, keep it on in the papers, keep people talking about him. That's the stuff that's performative. And most people thought, it's going to get done. Yeah, they're doing this. Dak, CD, all the play. Everybody thought it was going to get done. Mulugeta, they went back to him at the final hour trying to negotiate and get something done. No, Jerry was serious. Jerry, again, was upset. He was betrayed. I don't think him being upset and not negotiating performative, that just showed you he was done.
The question comes as to why it's performative, because why would he be upset knowing that you're negotiating with the player?
Because he's done that before.
So that's
he's done that before.
Performative.
He's done that before. He's done that with several players before.
To the point where an all-pro player.
Michael Irvin. He's done that before. And my thing is just, and I have, again, my take. He did that with Tyron Smith. He's done that before. He's cut deals with players who say sign the deal because I want to be here and Jerry's my guy. He's done that before. And, Dak would not talk contract with him. Dak said, talk to my agent. Or CD said, talk, but he's done that with players before and he's gotten away with it. And he thought he and Mike, and it's funny because he kept calling Micah Michael and he had this close relationship with Michael Irvin. I really think he wanted Micah to be his Michael of this generation, because he and Michael, came into the league together. They grew in the league together. They've had their travails. Michael's off the field stuff. Jerry's suits. They had a lot of success, won titles. They have a long-lasting bond, and they have a lifetime relationship. He wanted Micah to have that type of relationship with him, and he thought he had that because he gave Micah Super Bowl tickets, and he would bring Micah to a suite. Micah's one of 4 guys that has his cell phone number, which kept bringing up, and he wanted Micah to be his Micah. And Micah said, first of all, Micah does not need him to be that in his life because he has a dad and he has a relationship, and he doesn't have off-the-field issues other than a podcast, but he's not in trouble. You have to bail me out while I need you on my side. He's not a troublemaker, rabble-rouser. He's just a Hall of Fame level, on his way, Hall of Fame type football player. And Micah said, talk to my agent, and Jerry got mad. Micah got traded.
And first of all, that was an excellent explanation, because now something is inserted into the conversation that actually makes sense, that closes that gap between something feeling illogical and then why it was not performative. So that was a really good explanation by you. And this is why maybe you need more females in the building. You know what I'm saying? Because how do you not, and not that men don't have high emotional, quotients either, but how do you not recognize that that's the seed of the emotion and really just be able to translate just what you said? I mean, you did that in 5 minutes, and then that's the heart of the issue. You know what I'm saying? And it's not easy, even if things have not gotten as stringent or acidic between even the Lamar Jacksons and the Ravens and John and the front office with the Ravens. I mean, it was to the point where Lamar Jackson dropped that he wanted to be traded 1 minute before John Harbaugh sat sat down at the owners meetings, and they were able, and that was like hella embarrassing, I'm sure. And John was the infinite pro, and they were able to come back from all of that. So I'm just saying, it's just so interesting to me if that, and that's an excellent explanation, that even with that on the tray, that someone couldn't identify and recognize that as the core seed of the issue. And for somebody to say, Jerry, you just want Michael to be your son, man. You just want him to Oprah it out. You know what I'm saying, Pat Leonard?
Yep. No, this is why power needs to have checks and balances. It's you have too many yes men or yes people around you, and everyone defers to you and is afraid to tell you the truth or look you in the eye and tell you you're wrong. That's how decisions like this get made, right? Like Jerry Jones, that is a great explanation by Clarence, a great context, like to put us in the mind of where this owner was, why he clung to that one meeting and that situation and what it harkened back to, what he wanted it to be, what it wasn't. I think ultimately what I question is, like, if he was that mad back then, why did this take so long? Why did it happen now? Like, to me, it actually wasn't a surprise at this point that he was dealt. It was just more like, if you were that mad earlier, why did you wait till late August, early September to offload this? Because my concern would be, not only are you taking away your best player from the team, a team that has a lot of veterans led by its starting quarterback who aren't exactly trying to wait to start competing, but I would worry how the team is going to handle this close to the season, right? Reacting to, like, what are we playing for? Who are we playing for? What is the aim here? Obviously the Dallas Cowboys are always going to be about putting a competitive product on the field, and that's their aim, and that's what they're doing again. They still have some high-level players on both sides of the ball, but it's very easy. These guys are human. Like, why would they not be walking into the building thinking, like, where is this going?
Well, I feel like it's because you feel like you have time, and so you take time. When you feel like you got time, you take time. Deadlines for action. That's just what I feel. That my concern with Micah Parsons is, and it would have been my concern if he were playing with the Cowboys, is that you just gone this amount of time without going through the full acclimation process, and just the amount of soft tissue injuries and incidents that can happen relative to not being fully acclimated. I am legitimately concerned about that, and I think now that you have that big contract and all the hoopla and headlines that come from that, it does, whether it's unconsciously or subconsciously, whatever, kind of put that pressure on you to go out there and perform maybe sooner than you should. And that's how, things happen. So I am very, concerned with that. But Clarence, please set the table on the game as we wrap this up. Thursday night football with the Cowboys now not having their big edge, rusher, and whether you feel like with the current personnel that they can walk into the link and still come out with a win, having dealt with the aftermath of all the drama and, missing one of their major star players.
I would say the Cowboys are going to a hornet's nest, but as Pat knows, with the NFC East, there's been no repeat champion since 2004. The Eagles have gone to the Super Bowl before, and they didn't repeat. The Cowboys won the next year. The Cowboys have won many division titles. They didn't repeat. They thought they had the best, and they swept the division one year and didn't win the division next year. And so on paper, yes, the Cowboys have no chance. The Eagles should be a favorite to repeat as NFC champion, certainly be another Super Bowl contender on paper. But again, that's not been reality. Even how great teams have been and how dominant they've been the year before, that's not been a reality. As far as this game is concerned, the Eagles, they're going into a hornet's nest. The Eagles will be celebrating the Super Bowl title. The fans, it's banner night, and what better opponent do they want to embarrass and celebrate against their arch rival, the Cowboys? And that's the biggest rival, for the Eagles. And so it's going to be crazy. And you don't have your best player.
Are you saying they have no chance because they don't have Micah?
Well, I mean, I don't know if they had a chance. I don't know if they had a chance with Micah, but Dak's had success against the Eagles. He's 2-1, against Jalen Hurts when they've both been on the field. They've had success against the Eagles. Again, the thing that the Cowboys will have to hang their hat on is their offense. And Dak to CD, Dak to George Pickens, Kayvontae Turpin, Jake Ferguson, they're going to try to put up points, and that's the way they have to win now. And when Dak has been healthy, had a full complement of games, he and CD cook. And they're going to have a chance and try to cook against the Giants with a great defense, great front four. He's had issues with Vic Fangio before, and and in this cover six defensive scheme. But that's the best part of this team.
Okay, you talking a lot about the offense. What about that defense? What is that Cowboys defense doing against what's the Cowboys defense doing against the Eagles
One
offense?
one good news is the Cowboys. Trayvon Diggs looks like he's trending the right way. He should play. The secondary should be intact. He says he has 75 to 80% chance of playing. He's practiced the last 2 days. Trayvon Diggs has spent all off season rehabbing from knee surgery. The question of defensive line, can they get to the quarterback without Micah Parsons? They got a bunch of pass rushers they like, but they're not Micah Parsons. They have no game records in the front seven. Micah Parsons was a game record. You got the Eagles offense, everybody back intact. AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, the best, the MVP type running back, offensive player of the year in the backfield, which the Giants should have never gave up. If
You
you want to
can
bring it back,
mention
you want to bring
Saquon
it.
Barkley's name in front of Pat Leonard. It's okay.
We
Just
Saquon
the number
Barkley
one player in
Johnson
the
never,
NFL top 100. It's
so
okay.
the defense will be hard pressed to slow down the Giants, of course. I mean the Eagles. There's no question about that. So they have to win with their offense. But yeah, the defense is gonna have trouble slowing down that Eagles offense.
Pat, jump in there.
Yeah, no, I like the Eagles to win and the Cowboys to cover because I do agree. I think the Cowboys are going to score. And that's, the joke I made earlier on about their season being over. Like, I think a team like the Giants, for example, they're going to struggle to beat the Cowboys still because I think Dallas is going to score 24, 27, 31. Like, I think Dak's going to use those two receivers down the field. CD not just being the only guy who can wreck a game deep down the field now. Now he has Pickens on the other side. I mean, most teams don't have enough corners to contend with that type of firepower. The Eagles are still the more talented team, arguably the most talented team in the league, if not one of the top couple. So I do think Philadelphia still wins the game. But my bigger question is about, we've talked about it. It's not being ignored. But like Brian Schottenheimer as a coach, like what is he going to be? Like in a close game in the third and fourth quarter of his first game he's coaching, against the Super Bowl champions, how is he going to manage game situations? How is he going to, use his timeouts, make those fourth down calls, fourth down versus field goals? Those are all critical
Don't forget
elements.
Matt Eberflus, because he just like according to the press conference, he's gonna scheme up the pressure.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's all they're gonna be talking about. Scheme up the pressure.
It's all about optics, but we all know, especially when these standalone games happen, right? The microscope's on you and only you, and so that's the big question mark I have is how does the team and the coach react to adversity? Both the coach because he's brand new, we don't know how he's going to do it, and then also the team because they did just lose their best player, and I am curious to see how they react once they run up against a brick wall, maybe like the Eagles early on.
So we scheming up the pressure, Clarence? That's what we're going to see?
It's either scheme up pressure with Micah Parsons and without Micah Parsons. I know that. You don't have to do much scheming when, you got somebody that's going to be wrecking and can do it himself. Yeah, I mean, that's the goal. That's what you're trying to do. I mean, that sounds good, but, I'm old school. I'm about the Jimmys and Joes more than X's and O's. I mean, give me great players. You don't win, and the goal is to win. If the investment you have in CD, the investment you have in Dak, is not about the future. It's about winning now. You haven't won in 30 years. You haven't been past the first round of playoffs in 30 years, and that should be the goal. And that's the frustration with Cowboy fans. I don't give a damn about those two first round picks who could turn out to be Mozzie Smith and Taco Charlton. They're going to be late first round picks. This is not the Herschel Walker trade all over again, which Jerry keeps wanting to point to and try to make a comparison to Herschel Walker trade and how that helped jumpstart the Cowboys in the 90s. First of all, the Cowboys didn't win until 4 years after that trade. They don't have 4 years to win. That is getting $60 million a year now.
The obvious point is that the point is Jerry's supposed to be alive when you're supposed to try to get back to the championship. All right, let's end on this. I'm going to have the games coming up for this week. Y'all tell me who you feel like is going to win. So the first game we've got is Thursday, September 4th. The Dallas Cowboys at the Eagles. Pat, you picking?
I got Eagles winning.
And Clarence?
Eagles.
All right, I have Eagles for that. All right, so the next one is Chiefs at Chargers in Brazil. Who is winning that game? That is on Friday, 7 o'clock local. for you?
That's the
Clarence?
Chief. That's the Chiefs win that all day, every day.
Okay.
Is Taylor Swift going to Brazil?
I don't know. The new fiance, probably. I don't think she's in the Eras tour, but I don't keep up with that type of stuff.
I'm
But
going.
okay.
I'm going with the Chiefs.
You going with the Chiefs? Okay, so I'll go with I'll go with the Chargers just to change that up a bit. It may be there. Maybe it's kind of like the Chiefs at the beginning of the season where they weren't as over their skis at the beginning of the season last year. Okay, next one: Bengals at Browns. 1:00 game Eastern at Browns. Bengals at Browns. Clarence?
Bengals.
Yeah, I like the Bengals there too.
You going? Okay, so we're all going with the Bengals. Next one is Dolphins at Colts. 1:00 game at Colts.
I like Daniel Jones to get a win here. I like
what?
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
I like Daniel Jones and the Colts to show a little bit of fire, a little bit of a ground game from the former Giants QB. Give me the Colts.
Wow.
So is it because you think the Dolphins are a mess? Is that what you're?
Yeah, it's a little bit of that. It's a little bit of I don't trust a lot of what I saw from Shane Steichen's team last year and how he was able to maybe not motivate certain elements of that team on both sides of the ball. But I do think he knows how to scheme up some plays for a mobile quarterback. And so I do think that the offense is going to be better than people think in that game as well.
So should Daniel Jones stay in New York? I mean, sound like you sound like you're on Daniel Jones' side here. Okay, you call him the missing link here.
He's
Don't
back
say that he can
Daniel
answer for
Jones.
himself.
Hey,
No,
he
he's
was good
back
enough to earn a 4-year, $160 million contract, but he wasn't good enough to hold the job.
Okay, well,
That's who he is. That's who he is.
But he's also talking about Daniel Jones version 2. He's talking about the Daniel Jones that gave Coach shade on the sidelines when they were doing that little clipboard beef or whatever. That version, it wasn't buttoned up Duke. You know what I'm saying? Daniel
That's
Jones,
right.
It was give you some shade and roll your eyes and let me show you what I'm really
Give me the
talking about now that I
Dolphins.
had some time
Give
in
me the
concrete
Dolphins.
jungle.
Give me the Dolphins.
Clarence is like, I heard enough, Daniel Jones.
Okay,
Give me the
I've
Dolphins.
seen enough of Daniel Jones. Give me the Dolphins.
I'm with Clarence on that one. I'm going with the Dolphins. Okay, Raiders at Patriots. Pete Carroll's new team against Mike Vrabel's new team in New England.
That's bad. That's bad on bad. You heard of good on good. That's bad on bad.
Geno Smith, holla at your boy Clarence Hill.
Yeah, and Geno Smith is the only reason why I'm picking the Raiders.
Yeah, I agree. Better quarterback, Raiders win.
Okay, so you're gonna pick the Raiders.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely picking the Raiders over Drake May, who is a team that actually sat out their starter because it's possible to sit out your starter for the third preseason game. Okay, I just want to point that out, Cleveland.
Who are you picking?
Okay, I'm going with the Raiders.
And Drake May went to North Carolina. Did they even play football? Do they even play football in North Carolina? Do they even play football in North Carolina? Did you watch the game?
Did you watch
the Bill Belichick game?
Why we got to talk about Chapel Bill? This is not the time to talk about Chapel Bill. It takes time to build programs.
Oh my God!
What a love fest that broadcast was.
It just fell apart after they came out the half and they scored and then returned to pick six.
They had Herb Street's dog working the clicker in the second half. That's how
without Tom Brady, Bills on a house of cards.
Okay, all right. Next, Cardinals at Saints.
Cardinals.
Yeah.
Everybody, okay, so we're all going Cardinals. Hey, Saints, don't hate me. People in the building I know don't hate me. Okay.
I think the Cardinals are sneaky this year. They're sneaky.
And the Saints are not sneaky bad. They're just bad.
Okay. Oh, so just another team that should be having Jameis Winston or Shedeur Sanders. Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
All righty. Moving right along, we've got the Pittsburgh Steelers at the New York Jets. Aaron Rodgers comes back to New York to face the New York crowd. Is he going to get the win with Mike Tomlin, or is Justin Fields going to show up his old team?
I think the Jets have a chance to be really bad in year one. I think that like really, really bad. And, it's definitely a long-term approach with Aaron Glenn, but I like the Steelers here. Just a more physical, better team, more experienced coach, better quarterback, all the above.
Yeah,
I'm just letting y'all know I can cut this whole section separate and just do these quick little. So I'm gonna show you all y'all's picks. Okay. I
feel sorry for Aaron Glenn. That's my dog. I wish him the best, but Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
you
going.
feel sorry for him when he start the season. You feel sorry for him.
Look at his quarterback. Look who's
Oh,
playing
Justin.
quarterback. They
I
have no
believe
chance with Justin
Justin
Fields.
didn't Justin start off 4-2 with the Steelers before
Stop it. Stop
Russell
it. That
Williams
was because of the
predetermined
defense.
contract
That's because of
again
the that's because of the
upset
defense, and that's what Aaron Rodgers has to benefit him. That defense. Pittsburgh is going to win that game.
The Jets are going to have a high draft pick next April. Very high.
And they're
So
no good
Bookie
and they're no
don't
good
think the
quarterbacks
Jets
in the
are not
draft.
going to win that game.
And they're no good quarterbacks in the draft.
You going with Aaron Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers.
Yes.
Aaron Rodgers.
Because of T.J. Watt. Who else? Because Aaron Rodgers, T.J. Watt.
No, just because they're not the Jets. Just because
they're not the Jets, and they have a system. They have a team in place.
DK Metcalf, yeah, that's DK's first game as a Steeler.
Their defense, they have a Steeler way.
Ooh, that's tough. That's tough. That's tough because
It's not tough.
I'm just saying. I just see Aaron Rodgers. I don't know.
Don't tear your ankle up on the first play.
I'm gonna come back to that. Make sure I come back to that. Okay. So I'm reneging on that. Okay. Giants at Washington. Pat Leonard.
Ooh, yeah. I still think Washington wins this game. I'll believe it when I see it that Wilson is going to unlock this offense and have it be something that scores more than, let's say, like 17 to 20 a game. I think if they can find Neighbors downfield and he can use that moon ball and get it over top of the defense and score blow for blow with Jaden Daniels in Washington, then we'll be having a different conversation about maybe what the Cowboys-Giants game looks like.
What about this Giants D-line? Everybody telling me Abdul Carter, Lawrence Taylor, y'all got the next coming of the next coming. So what happened to all of that?
Well, I do think the Giants have to prove they can stop the run first, and if they are trailing in a game and can't stop the run, how much is that pass rush really going to be able to get after Jaden? So that's why they need to score points, take a lead. Daniels needs to be able to drop back or have to throw the ball a lot in the second half. Then these guys can pin their ears back. There is a lot of talent up front, Josina, no doubt about it. But I think the Giants as a team have to be good enough and cohesive enough to get those players into those situations. Oh, yeah, I'm going Commanders. Yep.
Clarence.
I'm still waiting for the dude from Oregon to show up and show out.
Thibodeau.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for Thibodeau to show up and show out. Talking about somebody who's supposed to be great. But my question is, and the only question I have is, does Jaxson Dart play in the third or fourth quarter of this blowout? I mean, when do you go get him reps? Washington.
Oh, I think, listen, Daniel Jones played in week 1 of a blowout so Eli Manning and the Giants, they come down to play the Cowboys. And in the final drive of that blowout, Daniel Jones went in the first game.
Right.
And I don't think that I expect what you expect, Clarence. I think they probably have a package in this game for Jaxson Dart potentially. And then certainly if it's 17-3 at halftime, Commanders, like why would Dable not go to the kid if he believes that much in him? So I'm totally with you there.
Already?
Oh, yeah.
Already.
I'm in the minority in New York. There's a lot of people who say, hey, week 4, week 5.
I can guarantee you this. There is no way in Cracker Barrel world, okay? I'm just saying. There is no way.
There's no Cracker Barrels in DC.
I'm just saying this is the name
old
of our
logo,
society.
new logo, old logo,
Okay.
new logo.
They have no logo Cracker Barrel in DC.
There's no way in our new society where you are going to see Russell Wilson coming out unless there's an injury where he's going to bring in. I don't care if the game is out of reach. It's not happening. I feel like if you look at Russell Wilson's history, it is shown that he has always had an understanding as far as what his circumstance is starting off relative to coming to a team. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening.
So you don't think he could be replaced mid-game?
For week 1?
Right. We're just talking about mop-up duty. We're not talking about actually replacing. We're just talking about if the game was out of reach, mop-up duty, get a guy some reps. That's all we're talking about.
No, I'm going a step further. I'm saying 17-3 down at halftime. You come out in the third and Russ goes 3 and out or throws an interception. You're telling me the head coach whose job's on the line, if he starts 0-2 against the Commanders and Cowboys, he might not make it to week 8. You're telling me he's going to sit on his hands when he thinks that the rookie's better anyway?
I think there's
way.
no chance in under any circumstance other than them having a TCU routing of the
Of who?
freaking
Who they route? Who they route? Can you?
other than a complete routing, do
Oh.
you see Jaxson Dart? And it would have to be a route on top of a route. I just feel like, in my opinion,
Can you pick a win? Can you pick a winner?
I picked the Commanders, and there's no way that Jaxson Dart is coming in that game sans a humongous route. I just feel like there's always an understanding with Russell Wilson when he's coming to a team relative to whatever gets talked about and go. That's just my opinion. I don't see it happening.
No, I hear you. You're telling us without telling us. I hear you.
There you go. So, all right, the next thing is Carolina at Jacksonville.
Ooh. Carolina at Jacksonville.
Carolina at Jacksonville.
That's tough.
You got Travis Hunter.
Duval.
I mean, yeah, you got the new coach.
Give me the improved Carolina Panthers.
That game will end on like a 8 flea flicker. I don't know.
I'll start. I'm going with the Panthers. I feel like, you know why? Because it's just another year that they're in Dave Canales' system. They have an understanding. They already went through the drama with Bryce Young and the way that he grew from that situation after being benched and coming back in and dealing with that. I feel like they have a lot of all of the emotions and some of the stuff that the other teams are going to go through and try to discover themselves through. I feel like the Panthers have that handled, and I feel like that is an advantage going into this game. Panthers. What do you guys have?
Yeah, no, I think Bryce Young showed a lot second half of last season, especially. And another team with a first-year head coach there, Liam Cohen down in Jacksonville. They got some talent on that team, but I'm going to take the quarterback in Carolina in this game.
Okay, Clarence.
Panthers.
You going with the Panthers? You like my explanation? Okay, great. All right, Titans at Broncos.
Broncos.
Jeez, Cam. Okay. 49ers at Seattle. Seahawks.
I'll go
Seahawks.
I'll go Seahawks. But
does he have any receivers?
I'm just saying, but I just feel like there's a little bit more.
They have no receivers.
And who's the quarterback of the Seahawks?
Sam Darnold.
Okay, and he's brand freaking new to that whole thing. So I'm going to go with the familiarity with the 49ers and Brock Purdy and the fact that at least there's some reinvigorated familiarity with Robert Saleh coming back to the 49ers as defensive coordinator, even though he has a lot more young pieces there. You still have Nick Bosa. You still have Fred Warner.
I'm going with the Seahawks. I think the bloom was off the rose in San Francisco.
Yeah, I'll go Seahawks too. I did like that explanation, Josina, but I'm going to go Seahawks.
I didn't get you off the edge. I didn't change it. Okay, all right. So I'm the only one taking 49ers. You two are going Seahawks. Lions at Green Bay. Lions have all new coordinators, new offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. You don't even know their names. Don't even act like you know their names. You don't know their names. I'm just saying. But they still got the head coach, obviously, and Dan Campbell. And then you got your Packers, who just newly acquired Micah. And so who you going with?
Give me Micah Parsons and Matthew Golden, the Texas receiver, gonna make big plays for that court. Is Jordan Love healthy? I just need to know if Jordan Love. I don't really have is Jordan Love healthy?
I don't know. I can't say I've been following that aspect of the story, so I'm not going to even try to front like I know.
I know Micah's gonna do everything he can.
We gotta call up Rob Demoski. I don't know, huh?
I'm gonna go with the home team. Going with the Packers.
Okay, I'm assuming that Jordan Love is healthy because I don't know.
I believe he is. Yeah, I'm going with the Packers. I do think the Lions take a step back. I don't know if it's a drastic one or a dramatic one, but I do think there's been a lot of brain drain there.
Ben Johnson means something. I'm sorry, you just don't get rid of Ben Johnson and think that offense is gonna be the same.
Yeah, you can't rave
what
to
about
me
Eric
about how
Glenn,
you.
Clarence?
Yeah.
Well, I understand that, but it was more about that offense and his scheming. Which listen, I like Eric Glenn again. One of my guys used to be coaching Dallas.
A lot of injuries on defense. He was making a lot of magic with a lot of injuries on defense.
Is Hutchinson back?
Again, I think that he's not. Based on, I'll say this, based on what I seen when he was doing some. I think he was on a treadmill, or he was doing, or no, it was a drill. I think he was doing a start. He was doing a drill on the field. And from my track eyes, which are very astute, from my track eyes, I can see that he's not there yet, based off of what I was seeing, even just in the mechanics of him running. And it's similar to what I see when players are coming back from ligament injuries or what have you. And they've acquired the stability, but they've acquired the conditioning in order to run on that ligament, but they still have not achieved the next layer over top that. So that's what I feel like I'm seeing. So with that, I'm going with the Packers. What did y'all say?
We all said the Packers.
Okay,
Packers.
great. Last three. Texans at Rams.
Rams.
I'll go Texans. I think
Yeah.
I think they're a sleeping giant.
Yeah, I'm going Texans. Why are you hating on the Texans, Clarence? You ain't even give that a thought.
You know about the Rams offense and their coach, and then do you know how that Rams coach can scheme up some things, and they got Puka in the two. We don't come on Rams.
I mean, what is going on?
Devontae, they got Devontae Adams, Devontae Adams and
the
Puka.
whole game, or breathe the whole practice.
Devontae Adams and Puka.
Sorry, I'm not gonna say what I was saying.
I'm going with the Rams.
Let me keep going. Ravens at Bills. This is the Sunday night game. Ravens, Lamar Jackson at Josh Allen.
Give me the Ravens. I think the Ravens have the better team. They should have beaten them in the playoffs last year. They gave it away. So I like them to go take it here in week 1.
Yeah. The ice and snow can't save the Bills this time. Ravens win.
Ravens. Okay, so all three of us taking the Ravens. Sorry, Bills Mafia. Last game on the slate is Monday Night Football. Vikings at Bears. Ben Johnson, you talking about, the Ben Johnson means something. He's the head coach now of the Bears. You got Justin Jefferson. We got J.J. McCarthy. They just reacquired Adam Thielen. Yeah, I'm trying to set the table.
Yeah, give me the Bears, because I don't know what J.J. McCarthy can do.
Oh, so you're going to go over Caleb, then J.J. McCarthy, and Kevin O'Connell, the quarterback whisperer.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
It's
on
only
the road,
people that have made a bunch of money teamed up with Kevin O'Connell, but okay.
Opening on the road in Chicago for J.J. McCarthy's first start. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I am gonna go Vikings though. I know they don't have Addison. Maybe I'm overlooking that a little bit too much. But I do think I'm not sure what Johnson is yet as a head coach, and I know what O'Connell is. He doesn't run the ball enough for my liking, which you have to do in games like this. But I'll take the Vikings because Caleb's got to show me.
You take Justin Jefferson away, the fact you got to add Adam Thielen, and he's 45 years old. Come on.
Why you say because they got to add Adam Thielen 45 seconds?
They have no receiving core. You don't have any weapons.
Okay, with that being said, I got huge, tremendous respect for KOC. KOC is a X factor in this game. However, beyond KOC, I always go with quarterback familiarity, and I'm going to go with Caleb because that's the quarterback familiarity factor for me in terms of, being in the role, coming off of the last season. Combine that with Ben Johnson's being, astute at offense and all those other things. They've had ample time over the summer to kind of work out the kinks, get to know each other. So I think that combination is going to outdo J.J. McCarthy and the rookie, only because it's a rookie, not because I don't believe in KLC, but because it's a rookie on Monday Night Football, including that factor. So that's what I'm saying. So any last thoughts, any parting shots, Clarence, that you want to dig in, get in there, football related, unfootball, you usually have some smart to say or not smart sometimes. What do you want to say?
No, I'm just ready to get the season started. I'm ready to get the season started.
What you want to say?
I mean, I know you don't know anything about track. I'm just glad that
I'm ready for the world champ. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm just glad that Hair Jordan is now the mascot of North Carolina. You know, the roof is the floor, from the ceiling is the roof to the roof is the floor.
Anyways,
There were
is
a
that all
lot
you
of
got?
Tar Heel dignitaries in the building for that one, man. That was tough.
Pat
Tough
Leonard, you
team.
got a parting shot?
I'm looking forward to seeing Clarence in week 2. Like I said, big Giants win coming down in AT&T Stadium. So that'll be fun to share that moment with him.
I'm frustrated because I was going to go to the fight in Vegas because I thought it was a 3 o'clock game, and then I realized it's a noon game. I really can't get back because the same weekend as the fight in Vegas, and I wanted to go to the fight. I was going to come back early that morning, but now I realize it's a noon game. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing get some barbecue.
That's right.
My parting shot is everyone out there, don't forget that the track and field world championship starts September 13th out of Tokyo. All of y'all people that are not rooting for the Jamaicans, we are coming for that. You know what?
You grew up in the States. You're an American.
I'm just saying,
You grew up in the States. You're from DC. You're from DC.